The trail of the 3rd Army and the 19th Tactical Air Command and the 8th Air Force is marked by more than 40,000 white crosses. 40,000 dead Americans.
We were young and soldiers called to dedicate our lives in the name of God and country. Do what's just, boys, go do what's right. A hot band of brothers waiting on our chance to add one more page unto the victory page. Here am I, Lord, send me, send me. Victory lies in the spirit of the lives of the men who died for me.
Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I said, "Here am I. Send me."
This is Michael Broderick, Marine Corps veteran, actor, and Galaxy board member. You are listening to the New American Veteran on Vets on Media. Now here's Carl Monger.
And I'm going to mute myself and it'll come out a lot better. The way my voice is a little husky today, maybe you'd rather not hear me. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. I've been experimenting with some of the sound input levels because last time the show I had a little ring behind my voice and I'm not hearing that through my headphones. So hopefully you're not hearing it out there today. Okay, so today is July 29th, 2014, and if this is the first time you've seen or listened to the show, welcome. The New American Veteran is dedicated to those who said, "Here am I, send me." We honor veterans, highlight those who have transitioned successfully, and identify areas and resources that help veterans leverage their military experience into successful and rewarding lives after the military. And we do what we're doing today, which is we're bringing on a couple of really cool guests, the first one of whom I will get to here momentarily. First, I want to remind you about Gallant Few's goal, and that is to connect every new veteran with a hometown veteran mentor. The purpose is to help every veteran achieve a smooth, peaceful, and successful transition, thereby preventing veteran unemployment, homelessness, and suicide. The way that we do this is by creating and supporting a nationwide network of successfully transitioned veterans that engage locally with new veterans with the same military background, now themselves going through transition. We also seek to motivate communities all across the country to take responsibility for veterans returning. It's not the government's job to transition a soldier back into a community. It's the community's job to make that happen and to make it happen right. Okay, I'm going to try and play a PSA. I've had a little bit of difficulty with this earlier, getting the actual video to come across on the screen. So let's see if I can make this happen now.
They teach you a lot in the service. They teach you how to stand straight and fire your rifle. They teach you respect and survival. They teach you how to take a life and how to give your own. What they don't teach you is what happens when you come home. There are over 2 million people in the U.S. Armed Forces.
Let's see what happens.
For some, coming home is the hardest part. As a veteran, you are not alone. Reach out, call a Valor Buddy, and take the Spartan Pledge today. For more information, visit us on the web at descendantsofsparta.com.
Okay, so the good thing about that is I can go back and I can splice that video in after the show is done. Let me turn my volume back down. I had to turn that up because I've got some disconnect here. You know, I'm so talented at this broadcast stuff, but I'm wading my way through it. So I appreciate your patience as we do that. One of the ways that you can help, you know, there are 3 major ways. The first one is offer to mentor a veteran. If you are a veteran yourself, we need you to mentor a veteran. If you're a civilian that has a unique set of skills or a passion to help others, we could use you to help mentor veterans also, because you may have a particular business expertise that will help. And then the third way is in fundraising and participating in Run Ranger Run. This Friday, we're bringing on the second full-time employee with Gallant Few, and I have one other that is a contract employee right now. The volume of veterans that we're helping demands that we ramp up to be able to meet that demand. And for us to do it right, we've got to staff up. So that's what we're doing now. Okay, this is something I want to say real quick. Happy birthday to Merrills Marauder Vincent Maleo. His 96th birthday actually was last week. And if I can do this right, I'm going to be able to show you pictures of Vincent at his birthday. And I'm being technologically hampered here. Let's see if we can get it to go. There you go, Vincent Maleo, 96 years young, Merrills Marauder 5307 composite unit in the China, Burma, India Theater of Operations in World War II, one of the forgotten theaters of World War II. This group of individuals, these forerunners to the modern Rangers, you know, the shield and the colors, the Ranger crest that has the lightning bolt, the sun, and the star, that comes directly from Merrills Marauders. Direct lineage comes down to it. So Vincent, happy birthday, sir. It was good to see you the other day. And today, the next guest that I'm getting ready to bring on, the first guest I'm getting ready to bring on, is himself Merrills Marauder. So before I call up my first guest, though, here is a special sound treat for some of you older Rangers will know who this is.
Yeah, hey, Ranger buddies. This is Ranger LG, Simple Pilgrim, and I just want to say hi to all the Rangers out there, and let you know I'm thinking of you, praying for you, working out every day, and I do that every day anyway. So again, very proud of you, extremely proud of you, and wherever you are, Rangers, lead the way. I
recorded that last week at the 2nd Ranger Battalion Change of Command, and on the gallantfew.blogspot.com blog, you're going to be able to see pictures from both Leroy Petrie's retirement and the 2nd Ranger Battalion Chain of Command, and you'll be able to listen to both the audio feeds of both of those events. Today's show is dedicated to 2 Americans that were recently killed in action in Afghanistan. They died on July 24th in Miragal, Calais, Kandahar Province, Afghanistan, of wounds suffered when the enemy attacked their vehicle with an improved explosive device. These soldiers were assigned to the 1st Battalion, 12th Infantry Regiment, 4th Infantry Brigade Combat Team, 4th Infantry Division, Fort Carson, Colorado. Killed were Staff Sergeant Benjamin G. Prange, 30 of Hickman, Nebraska, PFC Keith M. Williams, 19 of Azalea, California. Would you please join me in a moment of silence before I bring my guest on? Right, I'm getting ready to bring my first guest on the line. General Wilson. Sir, this is Carl Monger. You're live on the air with the New American Veteran Talk Show. Thank you for being here today.
I'm delighted to be with you, Carl.
Sir, I've got to read a little bit of your bio before we get started, because as I read about you, I was absolutely fascinated. I'm going to turn the volume up here just a little bit, so hopefully you can hear me fine.
Good.
Lieutenant General Samuel V. Wilson, a native of Southside, Virginia, retired from active military service on August 31st, 1977, having served during his 37-year career from infantry private to lieutenant general. A highly decorated combat veteran of World War II, he spent part of that period in the Office of Strategic Services and subsequently in the 1944 North Burma campaign with Merrills Marauders. His decorations include the Distinguished Service Cross. He was inducted into the Ranger Hall of Fame in 1993. Sir, it is an absolute pleasure and an honor to welcome you to the show.
I'm delighted, of course, to join you, Carl.
Sir, as I read in your bio, I'm sorry, I stepped on you there. Go ahead, sir.
Do you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir, I sure can.
Good.
As I read in your bio, it said that you enlisted at the age of 16 as a bugler.
Yeah, that's correct. I can tell you briefly what happened.
Please, sir. That sounds fascinating.
I studied music, so when I enlisted in the National Guard at 16, they were asking me what my talent, skills, training, so on had been. They learned I had studied music, and that I had studied clarinet, actually. They said, good, boys, we got ourselves a bugler. When I tried to explain to them that a bugle and a clarinet require an entirely different kind of...
A little different.
They said, a horn is a horn, boy, you're a bugler. So it took me 3 months after becoming a bugler to find and train my replacement. It took me longer than that, about 5 months. And just before Thanksgiving 1940, I was able to trade my M1A1 bugle in for a 1903 Springfield and become a lead scout in the rifle squad and be promoted to PFC.
And did you know what you were in for when you did that?
I think I did. I have some idea. I may have had it a bit romanticized, but I think I knew generally what the lead scout was there for.
I am absolutely fascinated about the difference in the state of our military from the day you at 16 became a bugler because you know how to play the clarinet to today when soldiers in Afghanistan have the use of small drones for platoons and companies, instantaneous communication. You have seen an amazing amount of development across the period of your service and subsequently, and from what I read in your bio, you're responsible for some of that development, especially on the special operations side.
Well, yeah. Number one, we live in a different world. That is for sure. But also, over the 37 years of military service, it became increasingly clear to me that the face of war had changed, and that war was becoming more 360 degrees more inclusive than it had been. We didn't just send people off to fight wars. Everybody somehow got involved. And that war had many faces, not just a military face. It had an economic face, a political face, a psychological face, a social face, and so on. I became interested in the instruments of national power, particularly the soft power instruments. So I went to work in the area that eventually became known as counterinsurgency, nation building, and so on. And that has been sort of the wave of the future and remains very, very much dead center these days.
Back in World War II, from you becoming a PFC, having a brand new shiny Springfield rifle to Merrills Marauders, can you talk through how you made that leap?
I went to OCS as an acting first sergeant in 1942. I graduated at the head of my class, was kept behind as an instructor. Among my instructional duties was a task at one point of training a group of young Sicilian lads who belonged to the Office of Strategic Services and who were going to go in into Sicily ahead of our troops to get intelligence and to get things sort of organized behind enemy lines. In the process of training them, I attracted the attention of their ward, a fellow by the name of Major Obolensky, who asked me would I like to join OSS. I joined OSS. But no sooner I've gotten into OSS than my boss from Benning, from the infantry school, received a high priority task and invited me to join him. I became the third individual to join what eventually became known as Merrills Marauders. That, in shorthand, is how I got there.
And in just a brief moment that you told that story, there could be 10 books written about your service from the time that you were a PFC through first sergeant and then into the OSS. That is absolutely phenomenal. From my perspective, I have to thank you. I was born in Heidelberg, Germany, 1961. My father was active duty at the time. So I think from your efforts and those of your office, you were able to keep part of Germany open and free, and I enjoyed being born there.
Well, that warms my heart to hear you say that.
I also have some relatives that were on the other side of the wall that got stuck there after the war and after the wall went up. And then subsequently, when the wall came down, they got to come over to the United States and visit Kansas, and they were absolutely astounded at the open space and the flatness of the terrain. Jump back to Merrills Marauders again. What was your function at Merrills Marauders?
I initially was the executive officer, the number 2 in command, second in command of a rifle company, Company B of the 1st Battalion. Then, when we were reorganized by the British, we were under the control at the time of British Brigadier Ord Charles Wingate's Chindits, a genius of a commander who had been behind Japanese lines some months earlier and was now training us to go back in with him. I became the platoon leader of an intelligence and reconnaissance platoon that would be operating way out in front of this newly reorganized and reconstituted unit of 6 columns or combat teams that made up the 3 battalions of Merrills Marauders. So that was my job. I recruited some of my men out of the guardhouse, frankly, because I was looking for men of daring do. We would be 25, 30 miles frequently out front, all behind Japanese lines. We'd be the first to hit the enemy, and oftentimes we'd be too far away from our main force for them to provide us any assistance. So I needed men who were used to being reckless, used to taking risks, and weren't afraid of dying. And I got them.
You know, the Army's USASOC patch is the tip of a spear in a patch, and you were, you want to talk about tip of the spear, you were tip of the spear. And
we were right there on the tip of the spear. That is correct.
And how long, when you went out on those patrols, how long would you be in front of the enemy lines or behind enemy lines?
Oh, sometimes 3, 4, 5 weeks.
How in the world were you resupplied?
Usually less than that, because I'm better admitting that we were on one occasion out that long, but I would say normally a week would be about what we would count on, because we'd have to double back and replenish our rations and our ammunition and so on at that point, and get rid of our wounded to be around, that kind of thing.
The terrain that you operated in, pretty rough stuff?
It was the worst terrain to fight over in the world. Mountain ranges, steep mountain ranges, when you got well up to altitude, it'd be very, very cold, just about at the frost line sometimes. And down in the valleys, narrow valleys with many, many rivers, just a spider web of rivers, lush jungles and so on. So you fought, in effect, in several different climates, depending on the altitude at which you found yourself located. It also was, for some reason, infested with all kinds of diseases, and there were a lot of wildlife that we needed to avoid. You know, wild elephants, man-eating tigers, cobras, and so on. But they were not. I think we were more afraid of those in our minds than we needed to be. But we were outnumbered always by the Japanese, since we were in their rear.
That is absolutely amazing. You want to talk about the recruiting men that had daring do? I think you had a strong dose of it across your entire unit.
Oh, we did indeed. They had already volunteered. These were volunteers. You may not know, but we were conceived as the highest Allied war councils, the council at Quebec, the Trident Council in 1943, as an idea that was presented to Roosevelt and Churchill by the same Brigadier Ord Charles Sword and Bible Wingate. But let me simply say, Carl, we were abandoned by our parents. We were orphaned at birth, without a name, except when we went overseas, not knowing where we were going. On the USS Lurleen, we were called Casual Detachment 1688. And after we joined the British and began our training in India, we were called the 5307th Composite Unit, parenthesis close, Composite Unit, parenthesis provisional close paren. That's the name to excite you and make you feel proud of your outfit.
That's not a very sexy name for a unit.
That's right. Then we were shrouded with unnecessary secrecy. Well, we had been all along treated as a big secret. We were also treated as a kind of a political football between the Allied British and U.S. partners. When General Stilwell found that we were showing up in what he regarded as his theater, which was also a British theater, we were the only American combat troops between Australia and Italy. And he wanted us. He said, you can't bring these guys in here with me with no infantry and give them to the Brits. I've got to have them. And he finally won, although it was a back and forth kind of thing. Following that, let me simply say, we endured inadequate support. We were driven beyond human limits in unending close combat for months. And we were mishandled. We were denied recognition. It was the tiny remnants of this outfit, 3,000 whittled down to less than 200, deactivated as a military unit at the very end. In other words, put to sleep without a whimper. Now, I need to tell you that the few of us who are still alive owe the fact that we're still living more than to anyone else to one man, a fellow by the name of Charles N. Hunter, whom you 75th Ranger Regiment fellows inducted into the Ranger Hall of Fame in 1993. It was a very, very fitting induction, incidentally. So we succeeded in achieving our mission, but there was practically nothing left of us. So the tiny scattered remnants were just disbanded. Those who were not fit were sent home to hospitals. Those who were able to recover quickly enough were put into other units, such as the 475th Infantry Unit, and continued marching forward. And let me add, I know I'm talking too much.
No, sir.
Let me add,
please do.
That our lineage has been, to me, proudly secured by having our, for a time, illegal arm patch, shoulder patch, turned into an emblem, a crest, for the 75th U.S. Army Rangers, which now carries our colors. And that is, up to now, one of the best things that has happened to us. You and I are about to talk about another good thing that has happened for us.
But before we switch that, I actually have a ring that I wear that's gold and silver, and it has that crest right in the center of it in black and gold. And I don't remember at what point I learned about the 5307th composite, but it was pretty young. I read a lot of books when I was a kid, and somewhere in there I read that.
You probably read Descendants of Merrills.
I'm sure. I don't remember which book it was now. I may have that one in my library. I'll have to go back and look. But
that's the best book, one of the 5 best books that come out of World War II.
That story of heroism and you know, there's a lot to be said about somebody that will go out and do a mission. Not to mention the fact that they might not come back, but they don't even know exactly where they're going, how long they're going to be there, what they're going to find when they get out there. One of my favorite little leadership books is called Message to Garcia, and it talks about that kind of, where do you find men like that? Where do you find men that will go off in the unknown and figure it out for themselves? And the 5307th is just a prime example of an entire unit built on them.
Where do you find them?
Oh,
are you asking me or telling
you
me?
You found them in the 5307th, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, thousands volunteered. There was a presidential call for volunteers right after the Quebec conference, and thousands volunteered. And they called down and selected 3,000 out of them. These were people who were yearning to get into combat and do something for their country. By this time, well, still kind of hung in the balance at that point. And these were people who wanted to do something. I guess there were a variety of motives. There were adventurers and people who wanted to just do something exciting. But the majority saw this as an opportunity to put their shoulders to the wheel on a voluntary outfit on a secret mission impossible, and maybe do something greater, better, more substantive and significant than simply being in an ordinary infantry company.
And there is now a movement to designate a National World War II Merrills Marauders Day.
Yeah, and that is really good news.
The 5307th was, as you said earlier, because there weren't very many of you left, it was disbanded and the survivors were transferred out mostly to the 475th, which 75th carried down to the Ranger Regiment. But what day was that the unit was disbanded?
Could you repeat that as you're coming in poorly?
Oh, yes, sir. Sorry. The day the unit was disbanded was August 10th. Is that right? I'm wanting to say that's...
August 10th. Yeah. Could I put in something here?
Oh, absolutely, sir.
Setting aside this August the 10th, which was the day that the tiny remnants of Merrills Marauders was disbanded. Now, setting it aside, having a number of governors of the various states declare it National World War II Merrills Marauder Day is really a fitting tribute, I think, to the guys that fought, and many of them died. Others were wounded, some of them in ways that left them crippled for life. All along that 1,000-mile trek India through North Burma, we're talking about a unit that lost, think about it, 90% of its fighting men. 90% in one of the most savage campaigns in all of World War II. And up to now, Carl, I think had been poorly and inaccurately remembered. So this proclamation of Merrills Marauders Day by a number of governors, I believe is a really fitting step in the right direction. And that, of course, lifts the spirit of the some 50 survivors of the original Marauders that we still have with us.
It is a piece of history that demands to be, well, you as Marauders don't demand to be recognized, but for history's sake, history demands that you be recognized, and especially when you're in a big 70th anniversary year, there's a lot of focus on the European theater of operations, and they don't talk about the middle ground, the India-Chinese-Burma area where Merrills Marauders operated. So August the 10th, there is a movement across the country now in all 50 states, I believe, to get August 10th this year designated as National World War II Merrills Marauder Day. If you're out there and you hear this, call your...
I believe 15 governors have responded, and maybe another 8 or 10 are processing the papers for it. But we don't have all the governors aboard, as far as I can tell right now.
Correct. No, so we need people out there. Get on the phone, call your governor's office, lend your support to the National World War II Merrills Marauder Day. I will post, probably tomorrow sometime on our blog, I will post the list of states that are in that have formalized their declaration. And I will list states that we're not too sure of yet, because I believe every state has been contacted. I talked to Johnny Leo yesterday, and she said that Texas and Oregon were still, they weren't too sure if the word had gotten in there. So I called the Texas Veterans Commission and sent them a copy of the proclamation and said, put your weight behind this, send it to the governor's office, and they said they will. So we've got to get that moving, because there isn't a whole lot of time left. August 10th is coming up. It's just right around the corner.
That's right. That's right. But it is a moment which is important to a tiny handful of people that are still alive that participated in this campaign, and to their loved ones who we say they also serve, who sit and wait, their loved ones who sweated them out, and really a tribute to those who did not return. I think it's a very fitting thing. I don't want to overdo my remarks about it, but we put a little notch in the stick, and I say that notch is there for an outfit known through the public media, the press, as Merrills Marauders, but proudly known through the radio call sign of Galahad. We were the Galahad Force.
I love that name. That is an awesome name. Sir, it's been great having you on the show today. Thank you so much. Thanks for your service. And we didn't even mention the majority of your service and the contribution that you've made to...
This is not about me. This is about something much, much more important.
Hey, sir, I'm just trying to invite you to come back on the show sometime.
Yeah, I've enjoyed talking with you.
General, thank you so much. Thanks for your service. And let's get that Merrills Marauder Day locked in. All right, that was an absolute treat. When I come back and I edit the show, I'm going to add photographs. So hopefully you who are watching this now need to come back and watch it later, because I'll have some images added in of General Wilson. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on the lead singer for a very popular rock group. And you may have heard this, and you may have not heard this. I'm going to play a very short portion of this while I get ready to dial him up here. All right, there's your little teaser.
Dave Bray speaking.
Dave, Carl Monger from the New American Veteran. You are on the air live right now. Thank you for being here.
How you doing, Carl?
I'm doing very well. Hey, thanks for your service. I heard you were a veteran of the U.S. Navy.
That's correct. You were Navy as well?
No, sir. I was Army.
Oh, Army guy.
I saw a couple of ships, but
They wouldn't let you on.
What's that?
They probably wouldn't let you on there. That's why.
You know, I got to, when I was a company commander in Hawaii in the 25th Infantry Division, I got a complete from bottom of the engine room to the captain's station tour of the USS Missouri, and it was amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
It happened because the kid that carried my radio, he went down to Pearl Harbor and went to one of the enlisted clubs there and made friends with a kid that was serving on the Missouri. So that's how my tour got lined up. It was awesome.
That'll work. We just the band Madison. I don't know if I'm here. We are. Here I am talking to you like
yes, sir.
For 1,000 years. We just played on the battleship North Carolina a couple of weeks ago.
And where was that? Can you say?
That's in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Is the battleship? Is it permanently stationed there, or was it?
Yeah, it's mudlocked. It just sits there. It's a museum now.
So I tried to avoid North Carolina my entire military service. I keep getting drugged that direction, but I've managed to avoid it so far.
Yeah, you're lucky. It's the same. It's the same class as the Alabama, I believe. It's in Mobile Day.
Did you serve on a ship? What did you do in the Navy?
Yeah, well, I was an 84 corpsman. I served most of my time with the grunts. I was with the Marine Corps.
Much respect.
Yeah, and I actually didn't end up with the sniper teams. Their state platoon is their sniper group out of the Marines. And I got to spend my last 2 years with those guys. But before that, I was actually started in emergency medicine. I got out of Naval Hospital Corps School, went directly to Charleston, South Carolina, and worked at the Naval Hospital there as an EMT and in emergency medicine. I really liked it. I kind of liked the pace, and you never knew it was going to come at you. So it was one of those things. Emergency medicine is just either for you or it's not for you.
Special kind of people do that.
Yeah. So that's what I did, and then after that, I went directly to my field training to join up with the Marines. And as soon as I got to the Marines, or as soon as I got finished with that school, I went directly to state platoon, and I spent. From there, I didn't do much medicine. I just spent most of the time with the grunts, like I said, in the field and working up to do our float and our MEU. So
that you say you didn't do much medicine, but having you in the field with those guys, that is medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean. Here's the thing: when you're with small, you're with small team guys, not official team guys, but when you're in groups of small teams, my thing was mostly training they'd all split off. We'd have 365-degree 360-degree coverage on a building, and they'd be a quarter mile away from me at any given time. So all I could do was really teach them how to take care of themselves between each other, and if something would happen. So that's what I focused on, and I just realized with operational security, you can't just say time out, hold on a second, I got a hurt guy over here, let me just walk through this line of sight or whatever just to get there, and, compromise positions. So it's just the way it was, and that's how we operated.
So how long did you go? When did you leave active duty? That's what I'm trying to say.
I got out in '97.
And did you go right into the music business then, or had you been singing before? What was your transition from being a Navy corpsman to lead singer of America's most patriotic rock band?
Well, it goes back, man. It actually goes back further. Even in preschool, when I went to a preschool through a church, and it was one of those things where they took your singing of your hymns and your songs a little bit more seriously than they do here. So it was, I started singing then, and then I started singing with my church choir. My mom used to play guitar and sing, so I used to sing with her. And then I was in a little bitty, rock band or whatever, garage band in high school. And I joined and enlisted in the Navy when I was 17. So as soon as I was a senior in high school, I was already enlisted in the delayed entry program. I got in, did, my service that I told you about, got out. And as soon as I got out, I was still writing music with the guys that I was in that little high school garage band with. And I got right into playing, like bar gigs and things along those lines. Nothing huge or major, but we worked at that for about a good 5 or 6 years. And then we started getting some really decent shows. We got some good openers for some nationals that would come through the area, and we were sort of the go-to band for a lot of the bars and clubs in the area, and that's how I started, cutting my teeth, as you will, with the music industry. It wasn't until, man, you're going back almost 15 years later when I realized what Madison Rising was doing, and they weren't Madison Rising. It was just a bunch of guys sitting around saying, boy, it'd be great if we had a patriotic rock band. And, I got involved. I put my audition tape in, and they had auditioned, I think, like 180 guys or something for the lead spot, but I guess I fit the bill. And that was...
Like the movie Rockstar, right? One of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I guess. Something like that. It is, looking back on it, is sort of like a fairy tale, because I had been working, I was working for a trucking company for 6 years, and I'd sort of given up on music for a while. It was, I had to take a back burner. I was working on, my family and a home and things like that, and it wasn't that I didn't want to do music, I just didn't have time. And then I actually started working for BAE Systems, who are the manufacturers of the Bradley assault vehicle. And they also make the pins and the 88s and any Army military guys don't know what a Bradley is and what a pin is and what an 88 is.
Sure.
But they basically build track vehicles. And I got laid off from that, and that's when I found the opportunity to audition for what would later become Madison Rising.
What was the source of the name?
We were in New York. We were finishing up some of the recordings on the first record that we came out with. And we didn't have a name, and the idea was we wanted something constitutionally sound, but also patriotic. And what better way than to sort of celebrate James Madison, one of our founding fathers, co-author of the Constitution, Federalist Papers, and it would later turn out that we then in office when the War of 1812 would be coming to an end, and the Star-Spangled Banner would be written, and it's kind of ironic that the Star-Spangled Banner ends up being the song that makes us who we are, as a band, as Madison Rising. It was during his term, and it's very fitting if you think about how we wanted to bring back the ideals of James Madison, and what better song to do it with than the Star-Spangled Banner. And
I played, right before I called you, I played the ringtone version, so I played the short one. When we're done, I'll play your full version of the Star-Spangled Banner. How many albums did you cut before you got to the point where you did the Star-Spangled Banner?
It was just the first record. It was our self-titled debut. It was just called Madison Rising.
Nice.
And we'd started touring the record, and we'd gotten a fairly decent amount of traction because of what we stood for right off the bat. It just didn't fit the typical rock and roll kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of attention from Fox News and Mike Huckabee, and we got to do, a lot of national television and things like that, which any other band out of the gate really wouldn't get that opportunity to do right off their first record. Just to come out and, and be on national television is pretty tricky. But what we've learned over the years about the music industry is that it doesn't really matter who it is. If you can release an album tomorrow, if you have enough money, you can get on any resource that you want. But we weren't using money; we were using our message, and that is the difference between Madison Rising and just about every other band out there, is that we are very much our own entity, but we have stuck by our product and our mission statement for the entirety of our, only very short, but 3 years of our career. We decided to come out, be patriotic, be pro-American, be grateful and thankful to our troops, and, basically call out some of the hypocrisies that are going on in this nation that are ruining it. So that's what Madison Rising is, and that's what we started out to do. But inevitably, we've turned out, after we recorded the Star-Spangled Banner, we turned out that people started regarding us as, or asking, would you consider yourself to be America's most patriotic rock band? And after being asked, I don't know, maybe 100 times in countless interviews, I decided to say yes, and it kind of stuck. So we are kind of officially, unofficially known as America's most patriotic rock and roll band.
We need to get you in. I don't know if you've heard of the Jim O'Farrell Band. We need to get you guys and have one of those War of the Bands things going on. He's a Ranger veteran, and they are more on the hard rock, not quite metal, but they do some pretty hard rock.
Cool. What's the name of that band?
The Jim O'Farrell Band.
Can you spell that?
Yeah, Jim, J-I-M, and then O'Farrell, O''Ferrell. And if you search, I think if you search the J-O-B, you'll find them. Their album may be, I'm not trying to give a commercial here to a different band, but you guys.
I'm always interested. We're always looking for acts that carry the same message, whether it's country, whether it's, but the key to this thing is a lot of it is veteran based. We have to look out for each other. So I don't mind. But again, thanks. And again, thanks for having me and talking about Madison Rising on your show. It's great.
Well, now tell me about the YouTube thing. We got just a couple more minutes here.
Sure. We started out about 2 years ago. We released the video of the Star-Spangled Banner, and the idea was to get 1 million hits. And in less than a couple months, we had our 1 million hits. So we actually hit that number on the anniversary of the writing of the Star-Spangled Banner, which is September 14th. So here we are.
That's a little freaky.
Later, and we are trying to basically quadruple that and go for actually 10 million hits, because we are at 5 million hits now. So we hit our 5 million, or our 1 million, or 5 million, and now we're trying to go for 10 million YouTube hits on our Star-Spangled-Banner-Challenge.com. That's Star-Spangled-Banner-Challenge.com. Or you just got the video on our YouTube page at MadisonRising.com.
Star-Spangled-Banner-Challenge.com.
That's correct.
I'm making sure I know I've got this, but I just want to make sure I don't forget when I do the show wrap up to include that link on there so people can click through to it. So Dave, tell me real quick, what's up next for you guys?
We're actually we're going to continue touring with the Concerned Veterans for America. That's been, we just did our last date, and they've extended our tour with them. So if people are interested in finding out what's going on with that organization, Concerned Veterans for America, please Google it, look it up, check it out.
I really enjoy watching their guy when he goes on TV. I've seen him on Fox News a number of times. I can't remember his name, but I remember.
He's a great,
That's right,
not only a leader, but he's also a combat veteran, an amazing leader of the CVA.
Very well spoken.
And also we're looking to release our hero video, and the song Hero we're making available to anyone and any candidate who is running for office that stands behind our veterans and our belief system that we care about. And that is an thing. If you want to learn more about using our song Hero for your candidacy song, please get in touch with somebody at Madison Rising, whether it's one of our contacts at the bottom of the page, MadisonRising.com. But that song is really, really amazing, and it actually talks about the kind of leadership we need in this country, and that's what we need to do. We need to start at our grassroots and get out there and vote and get the right people in office at the bottom and work our way up.
Yeah, you know what, without getting too far onto the political side, the common sense approach that's mostly middle of the road seems to be completely run over by everything else that's out there. And keeping our country free, guarding our personal freedoms, and not wasting stuff seems to me to be pretty common sense.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's all self-explanatory, but when you start adding in the payola on the other side that says, don't worry about what you need. Here, I got it for you. That's when I start getting concerned. So.
Absolutely. Well, Dave,
Anyway,
hey,
man.
thank you for being on the show. Thanks for your service. Good luck. Break a leg, I guess I should say, to the entertainment folks on Hero and making the challenge all the way up to 10 million views.
You got it, brother, and
All right.
thanks. Be well, and shout out to all our veterans, our brothers and sisters out there, as well as our active.
And here it is, the entire version of Madison Rising, the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. Can the rocket track blast, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave for the land under the brave? Can the home of the brave? Because we are the brave. Yes, we are the brave. We'll fight you in name, the name of the brave. We are the U.S. of A. But those unaware, that flag is still there. It's your future to save. Stand of the brave, the U.S. of A. Oh, say, does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave for the land of brave and the
Well, all right, there you have Madison Rising with their version of the Star-Spangled Banner. And that brings us to the conclusion of the show today. Thank you for joining us. Please tune in. Next week, we're shifting to 2 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central. I have a lot of meetings that seem to happen Tuesdays on lunchtime, so it cramps me trying to get ready for this show. And in fact, today, 3 minutes before the show was due to air, I was still trying to make sure I had a good internet signal. So AT&T Uverse, still being optimistic. At the end of every show, I always play taps, and it's to me, whenever I hear taps, it's a sobering reminder of those that have made the ultimate sacrifice for us. And I have 16 of my friends that died on active duty in service of our country. And when you go back and you run those faces through your mind and you remember the interactions that you had and the brotherhood that you shared, it's impossible for me to describe the emotions and the thoughts that come, but it's there every time I hear taps. And so I also want to apologize because after taps, I have to give a disclaimer that music is open source or used with permission. So it kind of ruins the mood a little bit at the end, but you can turn it off right at the end of taps if you want, so you don't have to listen to that. So thank you again for joining us on Gallant Fuse, the New American Veteran. And here we go. That beautiful rendition of taps is a public domain recording created by a soldier or employee of the United States Army, and as such is not eligible for copyright protection in the United States. Kenny Thomas' song Send Me is used by permission of Kenny Thomas. All other work or recording is original work or used by permission. This has been a presentation of Gallant Fuse, the New American Veteran on the Vets on Media Global Network.